We're going to take a moment and move on to the next part of the presentation. But before we do, if any of the trustees have any questions, comments, thoughts, feel free to jump in, ask away. We do want this to be interactive as much as possible. So we look forward to hearing from you. So I just want to encourage you to jump in anytime. So with that, let's take a look at some of a deeper dive into the review of that virtual technology and the advancements. I'm going to bring in a few more panelists into discussion. Ricky Contreras, our Disability Retirement Services Division Manager, and Carlos Barrios, our Interim Benefits Division Manager. And team, let's talk about how those channels have evolved. What are some of the technological advances and changes? Carlos, let's start with you.
Sure, JJ. Good afternoon, trustees. In 2020, the Member Services successfully launched a system that allows the call center to perform telephone retirement counseling remotely. Having a remote call center and the ability to work remotely had been a topic of discussion for a while, but the pandemic pushed that effort into high gear. The new system was acquired, installed, training developed and performed, and it was all up and running in just after a month, which is an amazing feat. Since then, the entire call center has been able to provide the same level of service as when they were in the office, and members can't even tell the difference. Staff have also innovated how they are using the virtual technology to improve efficiency. The Member Services and retiree healthcare call centers maintain a daily chat where staff ask questions and share information among their peers and supervisors. Answers to questions can be asked in real time when interacting with the members, and common issues are identified quicker through sharing of information. There's even a chat with the systems division to ensure any technological issues are addressed as quickly as possible. And then shortly after, in June of 2020, as mentioned before, the Member Services launched a virtual face-to-face counseling platform to reach members who were no longer able to visit the Member Service Center due to the stay-at-home order. We found that the virtual face-to-face counseling produced an immediate enhancement. Not only did it serve members who could not visit the Member Service Center, but virtual face-to-face counseling allowed us to reach members all over the world as a result of its web-based platform. As an example, we were able to perform a virtual meeting with the retired member in Greece to validate her identity to restart her payments. Her account had been placed on hold because of return mail and lost contact until she finally contacted us. The virtual face-to-face platform was a perfect method for identifying and validating we were speaking to our member. We require a valid governmental ID and on all virtual counseling sessions, the same as if they would have had to produce if they came to the Member Service Center. So we asked this member from Greece to put up her ID to the camera so that we could validate her identity. And she still had her valid ID from California. With the help of her son next to her, assisting her during the call, we were able to restart her benefits. We served another member who was on his boat and another member who was traveling across country with his wife in an RV. Our only requirement for virtual counseling is that members not be actively driving during the counseling session. And as Alan mentioned, it has been such a success, it's going to be incorporated into other areas of the division.
So Carlos mentioned a couple of really important things there, and one of them that I want to hone in on is that chat feature. Where internally we have a chat going in the call center and amongst the Member Service Center staff as well. One of the cool things about that is I'm on that chat every day. And I often see our staff members pose a question that a member has or need some information about how something is and needs to be relayed to a member or what a business rule is. And you'll see that, the supervisors will jump in or Alan will jump in, or I'll often jump in and provide them with advice on how to assist members, which really goes to improve not only the service for that individual member that's going through that experience at that time, but everybody else on the chat gets to see it. And so that sticks in their mind and they get that information as well. And it just really improves the type of service that we're able to do. So thank you, Carlos. Vanessa, I understand we're doing webinars in place of workshops at our offices due to the pandemic, and that we've increased our collaboration with Empower. So can you share your thoughts on what we're doing and whether these changes, including the new collaboration between Empower, which we've always had some collaboration with, but can you share how that's improved the member experience?
They are going wonderful. We could not have asked for any better associates. We meet with Lisa at least once a month. She is over in Empower. We work closely together with her to ensure that we are offering various dates and times for our members. We used to average about 4 presentations a month, and now we're somewhere between 12 to 13 averaging a month. So we're really collaborating together with her and making sure that we keep our information fresh to make sure we keep that attendance up as well. So it's been a great.
Thank you. And so that goes to something we heard earlier today in the presentation from Accenture. And one of the things that their research had showed is that people want to have that full 360 view of their retirement funds or their retirement planning. And so by partnering with Empower and doing it together with them at the same time, people can get that full vision of what their options are for when they retire and what resources they'll have. So Cassandra, can you share how things are evolving in retiree healthcare?
Yes, JJ. Since the pandemic, as Carlos mentioned, retiree healthcare's entire division has been able to provide service as when we were in the office. And although retiree healthcare currently does not individually conduct virtual face-to-face counseling as of yet, when and if we are needed, we do collaborate with member services on the GoToMeeting platform when members being counseled are requiring more detailed healthcare information. Needless to say, the remote call center capability has been very important and a necessary means for communicating with our members. In addition, while outreach does a good job at counseling our members, in the future, retiree healthcare is looking to expand on our collaboration even more so, and perhaps partnering with member services when conducting the webinars, where we can provide breakout sessions, for example, for those members who have specific retiree healthcare questions, such as how to fill out their forms or addressing their Medicare questions, etc.
And that collaboration goes not only between retiree healthcare and member services, but also member services and disability retirement services. You know, oftentimes when a member is coming in and they're considering their options for retirement and they're thinking about a disability, they've got questions that range across all of the spectrums, right? And being able to pull all of the subject matter experts into one single counseling session makes it a much more natural experience for the member. So a member could be asking, okay, what's the disability process? And as they're going through that, they can turn to the benefit specialist, retirement benefit specialist, and say, well, how does that impact the amount of money I'm going to receive? And then they may turn to Cassandra's team and say, all right, so what type of retiree healthcare? All in one single session. And so being able to do that joint counseling is a huge improvement. So Cassandra, you mentioned that you're getting a lot of calls. And I know that you have a limited number of staff. Has this new technology helped you move staff around more efficiently to lessen the load on or the wait times for our members?
Yes, being that we are a small unit in comparison to benefits or member services, our operations, our audit team are all cross-trained and are able to not only process enrollments, check them, or reconcile discrepancy audits, but they're also able to assist with answering member calls. So when our call center receives this high volume of calls, it becomes all hands on deck for retiree healthcare. And everyone within retiree healthcare are able to jump in to assist with answering calls when needed in real time.
Thank you. And we do that in other parts of the organization too. In member services, we move people around. That was the whole part of the discussion we had earlier about harmonizing service by training people to go between channels. It's really a hugely beneficial thing. In the previous premise service where we had to be on premise, sometimes you were limited who could log in, whether they had access to a phone to log in. Now, just about anybody on the staff who's trained, we can ask them to jump in. So there are just a few changes of beneficial changes and adaptations that we've had for new technology. Members can upload documents from LACERA, making it easier and faster for members to get the documents to us, sometimes in real time. Likewise, members can now receive correspondence electronically. I was just looking at a member's account earlier today, and a staff member ran an estimate for the member. And in the old days, we would have, it was a phone call. In the old days, we would have had to mail that to them. The staff member uploaded it directly to their member document library, and then the member could see the estimate in real time. So that's just another example of how we've improved the services that we're offering to our members. Another thing that we've done is made it easier for members to submit certificates. In the old days, we used to require, the old days, just a year ago, right? In the old days, we used to require somebody to send us a marriage certificate, an original marriage certificate, something deeply personal to people, something that if they lost, it would be a traumatic experience for them, for most people. And I know it would be for my wife and I. But now they don't have to do that. Now they can upload an image and attest that it's an original document, and we can move forward with their process. So safe and secure adaptation of new technology is occurring throughout LACERA and improving the member experience. Let's go to the next slide. So let's take a case study. And I'd like to invite Eugenia Durer from our Disability Litigation Unit. And Eugenia is going to talk a little bit about how the pandemic impacted disability litigation and what lessons they've learned and how they adapted. Eugenia?
Thank you, JJ. Good afternoon, trustees. The pandemic has definitely impacted the way we do our business. So prior to COVID, there was only one way to have a disability hearing, and that was in person in our 6th floor hearing room. And that room, it was only big enough to allow 6 people tops on a good day. And then COVID hit and we were locked down with no way to have in-person hearings. So at first we postponed and we rescheduled the hearings. And then we postponed and we rescheduled again. And we realized that COVID wasn't going away anytime soon, and we needed to find a solution to get our cases moving again because applicants' deadlines were coming up and we needed to move their cases forward. So we talked to referees, applicants' attorneys, court reporters, and the applicants to get a sense of what everyone was thinking. And of course, everybody had different preferences and comfort levels, and we quickly realized we had to be flexible to accommodate all different types of situations. So we reviewed the different health guidelines. We discussed how other entities were dealing with COVID by looking at protocols at, believe it or not, different schools, vendors, and other government entities. And once we had an idea of what we wanted to do, we reached out to the exec office for approval and then began collaborating with admin services, member services, HR, systems, and office of the building to establish our plan and implement our new protocols. The final result is now members have 3 options for hearings: in person, hybrid, and 100% virtual. In-person hearings were a bit tricky because we needed to make sure we were compliant with county and city of Pasadena's health guidelines. That made our 6th floor hearing rooms out of the question because it's too small to socially distance. We decided the best option for in-person hearings was the 1st floor workshop because it's large and it kept all participants on the main floor. We worked with member services to book the workshop. Admin services helped us set up the room so that every person was seated at least 9 to 10 feet apart. Next slide, please. Here are some pictures of the setup. This shows the typical placement of the parties, and we actually used a tape measure, and there really is 9 to 10 feet between the chairs. Admin services also gave us a HEPA filter for the room. We had a supply table with Clorox wipes, extra gloves, and masks on hand in the hearing room. In addition, HR developed a health questionnaire, next slide please, that all non-LACERA participants had to answer the day before the hearing. If anyone answered yes to any of these questions, they were not allowed on our premises. We also bought a contactless thermometer to take all participants' temperature upon arrival. We've had several in-person hearings using these protocols, and it has worked out very well. I even gave a tour of the setup to one of our referees prior to the hearing to make sure that he was comfortable, and he was. And then we encountered situations where some people really, really wanted to be in person and some people really, really didn't. So we developed a hybrid option. The only room in LACERA that can handle a hybrid situation is our boardroom because it already has cameras set up to handle the virtual portion of the hearing. Also, it's large enough to socially distance all the in-person participants. And we really relied on systems to help us set that up. So thank you very much, systems. For the virtual participants, we experimented using Zoom and Microsoft Teams. Both have worked out really well, but I think that Teams ended up being more convenient. Our in-person participants still had to follow protocols for the in-person protocols with temperature checks and the health questionnaire the day before. And then finally, we've also conducted 100% virtual hearings where everyone is remote. It's usually done on Teams, but we've also tried Zoom too. Either way works. We usually do a test run 1 to 2 weeks prior to the hearing to make sure everyone is comfortable with the technology. And for people who don't have the proper technology, with systems help, we can set up our old 6th floor hearing room with a laptop for them to use, and that participant would be the only person in that 6th floor hearing room. So these 3 options have given us flexibility to accommodate all situations and have kept our cases moving forward. Of course, they're not without their flaws. For example, testifying in person with a mask has created audibility problems because of the muffled voices. The remote options always have your typical issues with internet connectivity, equipment problems, and user error. Audibility has also been problems with people who don't have good mics. So it's been tough for our court reporters in both situations, but we've always managed to make it work. So despite all the negatives from COVID, the silver lining for disability litigation is that it has forced us to be creative. And now we have 3 options to give applicants for hearings and keep their cases moving, which is the most important thing.
So this is a really great example of how LACERA adapts and evolves to continue to provide services, no matter what Mother Nature may throw at us. But it's also a couple of other really good examples that I want to just pull out for a moment. What stands out is the efforts that disability litigation team went through to gather the necessary data about preferences of all the participants to develop a process. So they looked at their peers, they talked to attorneys, they talked to some of the members. And by doing that, they developed a really robust process that could accommodate any number of circumstances, which will last us long after the pandemic as well. It's also a good example of that member experience type of approach and how it works. Services were modified and delivered in a manner that members and participants found safe and secure. And then finally, I want to throw a shout out to the systems team and the admin team, because everything that we've done so far and we've talked about so far in terms of advancing technology, finding new and innovative ways, has all been reliant on a very adaptable and flexible and collaborative systems team. And that's been a huge benefit for us. And so I know Kathy will be joining us a little bit later, but I know she's listening, so I want to throw that out to her team. We couldn't do it together unless we were all working. We couldn't do any of it unless we're all working as a team. So thank you, Eugenia. This is a.
Are you going to get your Cokes?
Was there a question? Oh, sorry. So the implementation of advanced technology has already led to some really beneficial improvements in the member experience. And as we look forward to our upcoming strategic planning sessions, we wanted to share other technological opportunities for your consideration as you begin those discussions. So throughout the presentation, you'll see some of these possible future consideration slides. And these are things that may be beneficial to think about as we go into strategic planning. So one opportunity is to expand our service channels by offering interactive virtual assistants via chat or voice interactions. Members can interact with a virtual assistant to complete routine transactions, get answers to common questions. A member calling the call center could be authenticated completely by artificial intelligence or a virtual assistant before being transferred to a specialist. And when they are transferred, the account pops up on their screen and we can actually proactively welcome the member by calling them out by name. So thank you very much, Mr. Jones, for joining us. Not only would this shorten the time it takes for us to complete the call, but allowing us to handle more member and which would then allow us to handle more member calls. It also creates a more welcoming experience for that member. Members could request a password reset from My LACERA through interactive virtual assistants online or by calling the 800 and going through a interactive virtual assistant process. The member could be online and ask any number of questions via chat, engaging in an ongoing dialogue with a virtual assistant. And if that member needed more information or the questions became too complex, then the virtual assistant could do a soft transfer to a retirement benefit specialist live, who can then seamlessly continue to assist the member via chat or maybe through a virtual session. We can improve the efficiency and member experience by using AI behind the scenes to provide real-time suggestions to a retirement benefit specialist interacting with a member. The AI would monitor our voice interactions, scan past notes on the member's account, identify repeat issues for that particular member, and then provide real-time help for the specialist and reminders to make sure important points are communicated to the member so that nothing ever gets missed and the member wouldn't even have a clue. It would be seamless to them. Survivors could be alerted to listen in to a call that may be going, down a rabbit hole, as they say. Intervene if they needed to, either by providing counseling to the specialist on the phone via chat or jumping in if they needed to. And those things can be as sophisticated enough to look at voice tone changes as well to alert us to potential problems. That way we can resolve problems before they become bigger problems. And of course, we can use it for data-driven analysis, looking at all member touch points and identifying trends and problems, allowing us to respond quicker, improve the member experience, and hopefully identify problems before members even realize it. So we've covered a lot of ground, and now we're curious what you guys think, what our trustees think. So with that, I believe Tamara has a question for you.
I do. Since we've spent a lot of time talking about the various channels, we thought it would be a great time for a quick poll. While you've likely used many of the channels discussed today, we're curious about your preference. Please select your most preferred channel. Just one, please. You'll see a pop-up screen that'll allow you to vote. Please choose your ultimate channel preference.
I am interested to see what the results are.
I'll give it another 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And let's see what our result. So interesting. The number one channel preference was web self-service. And second was in-person visits, tied with email. So that's really interesting. This is very similar, I think, to what it came out when we tried the poll internally with the team that's presenting today. And this really does speak to the fact that everybody has their own unique preferred channel in which they wish to interact. My experience, for example, I love doing things by myself. If I can't figure it out by myself, then I want to talk to somebody either via chat or via phone to find out, what's going on and to resolve my problems. Trustees, any comments or thoughts about this now that you see what your ideal preferences are?
Yeah, I had a comment.
Yes, Mr. Moore.
Yeah, just briefly, it looks like about half prefer talking to somebody and the other half said it's okay not to talk to anybody.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, to me.
And I bet you it would be interesting if we looked at the generational span to see, where that falls in that range too. But
yeah, well, if it's trustees, we're all old.
no, I didn't say that. Now hold on.
Except me. Santos. But
Yeah, well,
I think,
I like to talk to people.
yeah, I voted.
Go ahead.
I voted for talking to people directly, but I think the virtual piece, like mylacera.com, is very useful, and a lot of the information that we have is very useful. And what I advised a lot of the members that inquire from me is to educate themselves as much as they can through mylacera.com and all the videos and stuff that we have available. And then after they have reviewed all that, then write down the questions in preparation for the in-person visit.
So that's a really great piece of advice. And that is something that we've actually seen over the last 10 years or so. Members are more educated today than they were when I first started here. And we can see that by the questions they ask and the information that they now want. And I think that speaks to LACERA's improved efforts to get information out there. And I can't wait to see what impact the new website has, because now it's easier than ever to find information. And before, it might have been a little bit of a challenge. Well, I appreciate those comments. And again, if you have any comments as we're going through this, just raise a hand, jump in, jump up and down, say, hey, JJ, whatever you need to do to get our attention so that we can talk about it. So with that, let's go to the next slide. And I want to bring back Ricky Allen and Carlos and Cassandra. Actually, Ricky, I'm going to bring back Ricky for this discussion. So delivering a consistent and highly personalized member experience requires a highly coordinated effort across all member operations divisions and retiree healthcare. And so that collaboration is key. So thanks to your support, trustees, we are now moving forward with one of our legacy strategic plan goals that is going to have huge beneficial impacts for LACERA, and that's the case management system. This vital system, it's a key part to our plans to improve the member experience. And so Ricky's going to talk to us a little bit about, over the next few slides, about how the case management system will help improve the experience, the staff member experience, and operational efficiency in their areas. So Ricky, take it away.
Thank you, JJ. Good afternoon, trustees. It is a pleasure to be here with you today. We spoke earlier about what our members really want, which included speed, competency, and reliability. We also shared how the pandemic accelerated the expansion and deepening of our service delivery channels to support a positive member experience. I would now like to focus on how a very specific tool leveraged by our team can create operational efficiency, increase productivity, and also strengthen our organization from the inside out. As we move from independent or siloed functional teams to well-connected and fully integrated cross-functional teams. That vital tool is a case management system. Why is it vital, you might ask? A case management system allows for a 360-degree view of a member's journey through LACERA, bringing together all information and communication into one cohesive record. Most importantly, it allows access to all case-related information and communication in a central location from a single interface. This allows the team to immediately access not only demographic information or static information about a singular process, but a holistic view of consecutive and concurrent processes the member is engaged with and where they are in that process. This will improve not only LACERA's response time, ensuring our members' counseling is timely, but also provide relevant and insightful counseling to our member with improved explanations, as the information shared with the member will be personalized, accurate, consistent, and easily accessible to the team member delivering service. Ultimately, our members benefit from a case management system, as their journey is highly personalized, relevant, timely, and insightful, and their experience is positive. Next slide, please. Take, for example, Miss Member. She's a 58-year-old dedicated county employee with 30 years of service. Her goal was to retire as a healthy 65-year-old. However, a few years ago, she suffered a workplace injury and was placed on long-term disability. Her department recently contacted her to engage her in the interactive process, and she really doesn't know what that means. She has been on long-term disability for nearly 2 years, and they want her to make a decision about retirement. She contacts LACERA and wants to know her options. She contacts the 800 number and asks about service retirement. The call center staff explains she has dual plans with LACERA. This means she has service credit in both Plan E and Plan D. She has 15 years in each plan. If she were to service retire as of the date of counseling, she would receive approximately 42% of her salary. She feels very uncertain about her future. This was not her plan to retire at age 58. She mentions that she believes she has missing service credit and asks whether or not that would help her in increasing her pension. Absolutely, the team member says. If she's able to purchase the missing years of service credit, it may increase her benefit by 2 or 3%. She requests an estimate to purchase sick without pay time. The call center staff submits a request to the benefits team to provide an estimate on the cost of such purchase. The member says thank you, and hangs up. She's now armed with some information related to her retirement, and she meets with her department. The member has work restrictions, which means she cannot return to her usual job duties. The department asks the member, have you filed for disability retirement with LACERA? The member says, no, I'm waiting for information regarding purchasing time. And the department indicates they will file a disability retirement on behalf of the member. The member agrees to this action. The LACERA disability staff receive the application and send a notice to the member explaining the necessary documents to proceed with the application for disability retirement. The member complies with the request, but has questions about her benefits, and she makes an appointment to meet with our member services staff. Member services counsels the member thoroughly, explaining that the member does have options. She can service retire pending the outcome of disability retirement, or she can wait until the Board of Retirement makes a finding on her application. If she's granted a service-connected disability retirement, she will receive 50% of her salary tax-free. She's still concerned about not working, but she understands her options, and she thanks the staff for providing estimates and explaining her options and effective date considerations. Later, she receives an estimate in the mail to purchase that sick without pay time. She decides to sign the contract and return it to LACERA because she really needs the extra service credit. The benefit team processes the contract and initiates the rollover from the member's 457 plan. Let's fast forward to today. The Board of Retirement has granted the member a service-connected disability with the option of an earlier effective date. The member receives a call from her disability retirement specialist who explains someone from benefits team will be following up shortly to place her on payroll. The member's counsel to contact her department to begin the termination process. And Ms. Member's individual transactions with LACERA staff were positive and relatively timely. However, let's look at whether she was well served. Let's look at the first point of contact, the 800 number. The member only inquired about two topics during that phone call: service retirement and purchasing sick without pay. She doesn't know anything about retirement and assumed that when the department mentioned retirement, it meant service retirement. As a matter of fact, they may have even said service-connected disability retirement, but she only remembered service retirement, so that is all she knew to inquire about. She never mentioned she had a workplace injury or that she was on LTD. But there were clues in Workspace. LACERA recently received a pension verification request from Sedgwick. It is buried in the interaction sections of Workspace, and the LACERA call center staff member servicing the member would have no idea to look for that information. Now, imagine if our case management system dashboard lit up with alerts for our call center staff, indicating LTD pension verification on file, flag, ask member question regarding filing for disability retirement. This would initiate a conversation regarding different benefits that Ms. Member may be eligible for, and the call center staff could immediately connect the member to disability retirement. Additionally, the call center staff could caution the member that purchasing sick without pay service credit may not be beneficial to the member, as her service-connected disability retirement is 50% of her salary, and adding only 2 or 3% to her 42% service retirement is not helpful if she's later granted a service-connected disability retirement. Once transferred to disability retirement, a specialist could inquire further about her situation and discuss the details of her injury. Remember, Ms. Member really did not want to retire early. She planned on working until she was age 65. Upon speaking to a disability retirement specialist, Ms. Member learns that she can request the department place her in an alternate position and request the Board of Retirement grant her a salary supplement. This will allow her to continue working, even if she is disabled from her current position. Upon hearing this news, Ms. Member attends her interactive meeting with her department and initiates that conversation. She now has a better understanding that allows her to look at all of her options: service retirement, service-connected disability retirement, and/or a salary supplement. The department agrees to file for a salary supplement, and the member is later granted an SED salary supplement. No sick without pay time purchase necessary, no service retirement, and the member's goals are accomplished in one phone call to LACERA. I ask you, can an intuitive system with detailed processing and collaboration features, as well as an informative dashboard, help our members receive personalized, relevant, timely, and insightful service? Absolutely. It can literally change the course of someone's life.